Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam. Chapter 4, text 11. Hey Bhagavan Vacha Veda Aham Antaha Manasi Ipsitam Te Tadami Yat Tat Dravapam Anyai Satve Pura Vishvashrujam Sunam Matsirikamena So Tvaya Ishtaha. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Vedahamanta Manasi Sitam Te Dadami Yataduravapamangai Satve Puravishvam Shridam Vasunam Matsirikame Vasotvaishtaha. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Vedamanta Manasi Sitante Dami Yatadurvapamanyai Satve Pura Vishvashajam Vasunam Matsirikamena Vasutvaishtaha. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Vedahamanta Manasi Psitam Te Dadami Yatadurvapamanyai Satve Pura Vishvashajam Vasunam Matsirikamena Vasutvaishtaha.
Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Vedahamantar Manasipsitang Te Dadami Yataduravapamanai Satre Pura Vishvasrijang Vasunang Matsidikamena Vasotvayeshtaha.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Vedam Antar Manasiptam Te Tadami Yatat Durvapam Anyai Satre Pura Vishvastajam Vasunam Matsidikamena Vasutvaishataha.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Vedaham Mantar Manasip Sitamte Dadami Yata Durvapamayanhai Satre Pura Vishwa Srijam Vasunam Matsiri kamena vaso tvaveshtaha.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Vedaham Antarmanasipsitam Te Tadami Yatta Duravapamanyai Satre Pura Vishwasrijam Vasunam Matsiddhi Kamena Vasotayeshta.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha. The personality of Godhead said, Veda, no. Aham, I. Antaha, within. Manasi, the mind. Ipsitam, what you desired. Te, your. Chidami, I give you. Yet, which is. Tat, that. Duravapam, very difficult to achieve. Ananani, by others. Satre, in the sacrifice. Pura, in the days of yore. Vishwasrijam, of those who expanded this creation. Vasunam, of the Vasus. Matsarikamena, with a desire to achieve my association. Vaso, O Vasu. Paya, by you. Ishtaha, ultimate goal of life. Translation. O Vasu, within your mind, what you desired in the days of yore, for the Vasus and other demigods responsible for expanding the universal affairs performed sacrifices. You particularly desired to achieve my association. This is very difficult for others to obtain, but I award it unto you.
Uddhava is one of the eternal associates of the Lord, and a plenary portion of Uddhava was one of the 8 Vasus in the days of yore. The 8 Vasus and the demigods in the upper planetary system, who are responsible for the management of the universal affairs, performed a sacrifice in the days of yore, desiring to fulfill their respective ultimate goals in life. At that time, an expansion of Uddhava, acting as one of the Vasus, desired to become an associate of the Lord. The Lord knew this because he is present in the heart of every living entity as Paramatma, the super consciousness. In everyone's heart, there is the representation of the super consciousness, who gives memory to the partial consciousness of every living entity. The living entity, as partial consciousness, forgets incidents of his past life, but the super consciousness reminds him how to act in terms of his past cultivation of knowledge. Bhagavad Gita confirms this fact in various ways. Yayata mam prapadyante tamstataiva bhajam yaham. Bhagavad Gita 4.11. Sarvasya chaham hridi sanivishto matasmritir jnanam apohanam cha. Bhagavad Gita 15.15. Everyone is at liberty to desire as he likes, but the desire is fulfilled by the Supreme Lord. Everyone is independent to think or desire, but the fulfillment of one's desire depends on the supreme will. This law is expressed as, quote, man proposes, God disposes. In the days of yore, when the demigods and Vasus performed sacrifice, Uddhava, as one of the Vasus, desired to enter into the association of the Lord, which is very difficult for those busy in empirical philosophical speculation or fruitive activities. Such persons have practically no information of the facts about becoming an associate of the Lord. Only the pure devotees can know by the mercy of the Lord that the personal association of the Lord is the highest perfection of life. The Lord assured Uddhava that he would fulfill his desire. It appears that when the Lord informed him by his indication to Uddhava, the great sage Maitreya finally became aware of the importance of entering into the association of the Lord.
You can put that back on the verse. Shri Bhagavan Vacha. Teraham Antarmanasipsitam te Namiyatat Ravapam Anay Satre Pura Vishwashujam Sunam Mat Siddhikamena Sutradeshta. Many nice points covered here. The personality of Godhead, Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, is speaking to his devotee, Buddha. And Buddha is a friend of Krishna's in this appearance of the Lord. As Krishna, he is a member of the Yadu dynasty. And Uddhava is also coming from the same dynasty. And their families are connected. Both of them are from the Yadu family or Bojit family. And thus, they're very close family-wise. And that is not ordinary. It's not that anyone can become a close associate with the Lord. One has to be very qualified. It says even to associate with a very aristocratic, opulent person in this material world, one has to have some special qualifications. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yanti Deva Pratha Devan, Putrim Yanti Putri Vrataha, Bhutani Yanti Bhuteja, Antivam Yisur. Yes. One who worships the demigods takes birth among the demigods. One who worships the forefathers takes birth among the forefathers. One who worships the ghosts and spirits takes birth among such beings. And those who worship me, they come to me. But he awards this particular life is a reward for the past activities and desires of the living entity. It's not happening by accident. The law of chance. We were discussing yesterday the law of chance. Chance may be used to try to explain some things, but it cannot be used to explain everything, which sometimes is done improperly, because even the law of chance, the theory of chance doesn't claim that it can do that. So sometimes it admits that this cannot be used in this feature because it doesn't function when, as the law of chance cannot function if there's some other thing added in, such as design by an individual. And then it all change. Or if there's some other inequality in the comparisons. So, similarly, chants cannot explain how life has come. Chants cannot explain how the universe has come. It cannot explain many of the most important things. And that's why there is such chaos in the world. Because without this knowledge, people are searching blindly, trying to find out what is knowledge, the ultimate knowledge, the ultimate goal, or who they are, or so many things that they simply do not know, because they're trying to limit everything to the law of chance or void. They're doomed to be unsuccessful in that method. And here it's explained, the Lord explains, that in your previous life, you were one of the 8 vasus. Every day of Brahma, there are different chief demigods in charge of the universal operations, and their positions are assigned to generally different persons, different souls take those positions. For example, Lord Brahma, his post lasts a long time. It's his whole lifetime. He will serve in that post. There'll be no other souls serving as Brahma in that universe during his whole life. And that whole life comes out to be about Sahasra Yuga Paryantam Aharyad Brahmano Vidu. 1,000 ages taken together, Ego Brahma is one day. So 1,000 ages means Chatur Yuga, the four yugas, Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Kali Yuga. One cycle, and then 1,000 taken together equals Brahma's one day. That comes out about 4.3 million years, billion years. And then one equals his night also. Day and night are the same length. Then if you multiply that times 30, you get per month, how long it is. And Brahma lives only for one exhalation of Mahavishnu, the whole affair of Brahma. About 311 trillion years, approximately. It's a long time, long life span, the longest in the universe. But other demigods, they take their positions for lesser time. For example, Indra and the chief demigods in the management of this universe, they live for about a day of Brahma. That's how long they can serve in their position. Then someone else takes over. And they either go up or down or some similar post, depending on their actions. So this explains how Krishna is speaking to Uddhava and telling him that you were chosen Vasu. You used to be one of the Vasus. The 8 Vasus are described in the scriptures. Very learned persons, very glorious. Even Bhishma was once a Vasu. And so now he came down to earth as formerly in one of the Vasus to perform some service for the Lord. The Lord calls his devotees, many of whom are demigods, to come and join him for his pastimes. when he goes somewhere, one particular universe, he takes the souls from that universe that are qualified to travel with him and perform that very intimate and important service. So that's Uddhava. He qualified himself by so much service in the past, means previously. And even though Uddhava may not remember that he was formerly Vasu, Krishna answers that in the Bhagavad Gita, many births both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, speaking to Arjuna, but you cannot. Even Arjuna or Uddhava, who were such close friends of Krishna, they forgot their previous lives. Because, as described here, they're only partially, as the word used, partial. They don't have complete consciousness. They can't remember everything because they're not. He's different. He's God. He doesn't forget anything. And even such devotees as Arjuna and Uddhava forget. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, he gives remembrance and forgetfulness to all living entities. He's in the heart of everyone, and he causes them to remember or to forget their previous lives, so many things. But he never forgets. So he reminds the living entities as a super consciousness. Oh, you wanted to do this. You had a desire to have a body like this. You had a desire to have a wife like this. So now here's the opportunity for you to take that. And the living entity is satisfied. It's not up to the living entity alone. Independently, he cannot fulfill his desires. He can desire as he wishes, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it will happen unless it's approved by the Lord. If the Lord approves that desire, then he can get it. So we cannot even love the Lord without his mercy. Someone was saying, if I want to love the Lord, I can love the Lord. Well, you have to get the mercy of the Lord also for that. Everything requires his blessings. All men follow my path in all respects, we were hearing last night. That means that if one wants permission to do anything, he has to get approach the Lord in some way. And if he's pleased with the living entity, then he awards their desire. And becoming one of the friends of the Lord, personal friend, is very exalted position. Shukadeva Goswami describes this, that such persons, krita krita punya, they perform heaps of pious activities, and now they're enjoying a personal relationship as friends with Krishna, wrestling with him. Who can wrestle with the Lord? The Lord's not so easy. But he gives himself to his pure devotees. But no one but a pure devotee would get that opportunity. Want us to become qualified to have that association. Otherwise, one can associate with so many other living entities. You can wrestle with them. But to wrestle with the Lord, one has to be very exalted, qualified, pure. Has to be as pure as the Lord in a sense, because to have that kind of equal relationship where the Lord enjoys enjoys being sometimes beaten by his friends. And they have competition. And if the friend wins, then he has to carry the other one on his shoulder. So Krishna sometimes loses. He has to carry the coward boy on his shoulder. These are the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. And in addition to his fulfilling the desires of his devotees to experience such things, those who hear about them, simply hearing about Krishna's pastimes, is the same thing as participating in them and makes one very qualified. Therefore, it's recommended to always hear about Krishna, his name, fame, pastimes, paraphernalia. Then one will achieve the highest perfection. Questions?
Hare Krishna. I have a question about how, so Arjuna and Uddhava can't remember pastimes despite their very exalted position, but Narad Muni could remember his previous life with his mother and her death and the sages who blessed him. So is this just one of the special circumstances where the Lord gives memory to his devotee?
Yeah.
Maharaj, I was wondering, why can't we achieve a so-called higher position in the spiritual world? But we see that devotees like Uddhava, who were previously Vasus, got promoted to such an exalted position as the Lord's cousin.
It's all depending on purity of one's desire and devotion and service.
Hare Krishna. Let me find it real quick. Yeah, it was said that a personal friend of Krishna is very exalted, and such persons have performed heaps of pious activities. But I was under the impression that we all have a fixed position in the spiritual world, like our swarup. So, how can one change their? This is related to the question that Jagannath just asked. I'm not quite sure. I was satisfied with the answer. If it was just answered, please forgive me.
Yeah, so maybe I can rephrase it. You're wondering about if the coward boys achieve this status in the spiritual world according to some activity, then some particular pious activities, then does that contradict the idea of having a sarup or an eternal identity in the spiritual world? So what we can understand is that those devotees, they became qualified to enter their sarup by performing heaps and heaps of devotional activities in their life previously.
So Uddhava was always in that relationship of friendship with Krishna, like.
Well, the details of Uddhava's sarup is I'm not sure. I don't have that information. If that's his actual, but we can understand that previously in the purports, Prabhupada was stating that he did have pure devotional service. He was in the status of pure devotional service, unlike Maitreya Rishi, who had still some other purification to go. So the question that I was going to ask Maharaj is that when souls are called from the heavenly planets to associate with the Lord personally, is that when they actually become pure devotees? Or were they actually already pure devotees before that? And them being in the status of a demigod is just the Leela. So understanding the eternal identity of different individuals has to be done with the help of the acharyas. As far as I know, Uddhava has been described to have attained pure devotional service. So that means that his body is completely spiritualized. So this is an interesting topic, which is that, like, our dear Srila Prabhupada, he has his roop in the spiritual world, but his body here is actually completely spiritual as well. So it's also an eternal form, though he has others, just like Rupa Goswami and the Acharyas, many of them have been described as to have their swarups have been revealed as associates of Srimati Radharani called Manjaris. So they're young counterparts to Krishna, and they assist Srimati Radharani in serving Krishna in a conjugal attitude. So better not to speculate on it, but only when that is specifically revealed. So basically, Uddhava's body is as good as his eternal spiritual body, Swarup, because he's attained pure devotional service. That's stated by Rupa Goswami that one can become Jivan Mukta, which means that even in this material world, they can become completely liberated even within the body. And the example is given is like a coconut. When a coconut is fresh, then the pulp and the inside is connected to the husk. But over time, somehow cracks or, evaporation like that, the inside, the flesh inside the coconut and the water completely dries up and it shrinks. That whole white part shrinks and it actually separates from the brown part and it shakes. And that's like the liberated souls, the pure devotees have become like that. Even though they're within the body, they're completely liberated. And for that reason, we worship their form, even after they're passing away from the world, just like we worship all the acharyas' form that they appeared just recently. Though that isn't their swarup, it's as good as their swarup in that sense. And of course, the devotee always thinks, well, this body is a lump of, flesh and it's just suffering. And even it appears by the Lord's will that even pure devotees' bodies become deteriorated, but their body is always worshipable, and because they're completely engaged in service. And that's confirmed by Rupa Goswami in the Nectar of Instruction that if we see the spiritual master or the pure devotee's body materially, then it's a great blunder. So this is why we do samadhis. We put rather, or we like we have a phrase where we say like this devotee, this sannyasi, this guru was put into samadhi. So that's a particular procedure which is given in the scriptures and has to be performed by qualified devotees. But basically, that's when their body is prepared to, so that it can be worshipped indefinitely on this planet. So unlike just a common person whose body is generally incinerated, you know, the spiritual master's body is preserved in samadhi, and that means that they've entered their nitya lila, or their eternal pastimes with Krishna, or of course they're always in that nitya lila, but on this planet they appear to have disappeared from their body, even though they're fully present in their words and in their form. And this is actually a great mercy of having the form of Srila Prabhupada in the temple. Because when you associate with his form here, whether it's a small association just to see him, or just to give maybe a little flowers, or do a little decoration, or anything like that, he's reciprocating with us. We've been praying to Krishna for service, and then Krishna gives us service to his devotees. And we get very purified by that and become more qualified for more and more service. So as far as the details of Uddhava being in his Swarup in the spiritual world, I think that information is there. There may be some leelas from the spiritual world in different scriptures which describe Uddhava's presence there. But just like we hear like Yashoda Mata, Yashoda Mai, like Mother Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj, cowherd boys, they've been described that they're eternal residents of the Goloka Vrindavan, and they associate with Krishna, but they come with him to different planets when he descends. So that's a question which I'd have to get confirmation on, is whether Uddhava is one of those eternal associates.
My apologies. I could ask a little bit more of a direct question. It's really great though. I really appreciate your answer. I guess to like simplify my question, would be to ask if the Swarup is subjected to change at all, or if it's just always, that's just a solid thing that's always there.
I think Prabhupada has discussed this a little bit, that according to the pure desire of the devotees to serve Krishna, then their Swarup is manifested in order to associate with Krishna in a particular way, depending on what service they want to provide to Krishna. But in general, I think there are some statements about that. I don't want to go beyond my what I've heard. So we can look that up specifically, but I do know that it's due to the pure desire of the devotee to serve Krishna in a certain attitude, and then their Swarup is manifested because of that pure desire to fit their service needs. So like the gopis are interested to associate with Krishna as a lover. So their body, their spiritual forms are perfect for that service, to please him with their devotional service. Similarly, the cow, the soul whose form the Swarup is a cow, has those desires to serve in that capacity. So then he has his spiritual form. It's okay. You want to say?
in terms of the of different leelas with Krishna, there's a hierarchy that I've encountered, that I've read about, and in that, like they, with amongst the different associates of the Lord, and Uddhava is the very highest. So he's the very highest example of perfection.
Hare Krishna. Okay, about Uddhava is a very, very exalted devotee of the Lord, but even that he wanted to associate with the Lord, even in that form. There is a story even in the Srimad Bhagavatam that Uddhava was actually in the plan of knowledge, a lot of knowledge about the Shastras and everything. And he knew about Lord Krishna so well. But that is not what Lord required. He wanted the love, So love is only when you perform the devotional service. So Uddhava was given a task by Lord Krishna that, the gopis in the Vrajadam or Vrindavan, they were really longing, yearning to meet Krishna. So, initially Uddhava just advised Lord Krishna that, you have to detach from these things. You're God, so you have to detach from all these things. How can you go on with this and that? He says, okay, I'll write you a letter and take it to them, that I'm detaching from you and this and that. So he gave him a letter that I cannot come back. You have to detach from me. You have to live without me, forget about me or whatever. And Uddhava took the letter. And initially, because Uddhava was very in the in his looks, he was very quite similar to Krishna. So as Uddhava appeared in Vrindavan, the gopis were very, very ecstatic that, oh, Krishna has come. And it was the same chariot he was using as well, Krishna's chariot. So they were all so happy. But when they saw that Uddhava is coming out of the chariot, they all got like, what's this? Who's this? And he says, okay, so, this is his Rath, his chariot. Where is he? So he says, he has given this letter. He says, okay, he has given this letter. And they were not even able to wait for it. They were so impatient that they actually snatched the letter from him. And they said, where is our name? Because we are so closely attached to him. Where is our name in the letter? And they were all like illiterate. He says, where is our name? Where is our name? And they were all like, pulling each other, and all the letter was torn apart completely into pieces. And Uddhava was trying to explain them that, see, he is going to go away. You have to forget him, this, that. And the gopis became so morose that, what the hell is he speaking about? How can we forget him? We are part of him. If we forget him, it's like we're dead. Even we're worse than death even. How can that happen? So from all the events that appeared, I'm just making a short out of it. But Uddhava got a message that my knowledge, against their devotion is much, much, much higher. And so when he went back to Mathura with the message from the gopis, he was just ecstatic, And even Lord Krishna said, what happened to you? You become so changed. He says, I have just learned so many things from the gopis, that I have never known all these things. So at that time, Uddhava became even more closer to Lord Krishna. He became more closer because he's now more purified. So this is even an indication to all of us that when pure devotees are there, our association, the moment we are associating with the pure devotees, that's a very, very, very great and very precious moment in our life.
Okay, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to the simple devotees.